Good evening and welcome to the June 19th, 2017 regular meeting of the Mayor and City Council. First item on our agenda tonight is the Pledge of Allegiance. I would like to invite Zaid Salahuddin from Dufif Elementary School to come up to the podium and lead us in the pledge. Everyone, please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Zaid, great job. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is reflection. I'd like to ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. This would be the time for approval of minutes, but we don't have any minutes to approve this evening, so we're going to move on to appointments. And tonight we have one reappointment and several appointments to committees. What is the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve your appointments. First to the Community Advisory Committee for a 2-year term, Ann Bird, term to expire June of 2019. To the Educational Enrichment Committee, Tony Salahuddin, term to expire June 2019. Raj Parajuli, term to expire June 2019. And to the Old Town Advisory Committee, Ian Gaithersburg, and that's an indefinite term.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries 3-0. Would anyone whose name we just read, please rise and introduce yourself. Who do we have here tonight?
I'm Toby Salahuddin, and I'm going to be on the Educational Enrichment Committee.
Excellent. Anyone else?
I'm Raj Parajuli, and I will be multicultural affairs.
Excellent.
Great.
Excellent. Let's give Tony and Raj a round of applause. Thank you for serving. Appreciate it. Serving on these committees is a really wonderful way to get involved and help your community, so we thank you guys. Next, we have public comments, and this is the time the Mayor and Council would like to hear from anyone who'd like to speak on a topic that's not a public hearing topic tonight. We have one public hearing. It is on bicycles and sidewalks, so if you're here to speak on that, then just hold off. But if you're here to speak on anything else, this would be the time. We ask that you keep your comments to no more than 3 minutes. When your time's down to 30 seconds, the timer will beep and turn yellow. When it's up, it'll beep and turn red. Do we have any speakers this evening? Come on up. And please state your name, either address or neighborhood for the record.
I'm Mike Busey. I live down here in Deer Park, so I get to walk up to City Hall. And I want to also congratulate the new appointees, especially Toby, who I used to work with at Gaithersburg High School in the math department. I wanted to speak tonight about how much I love this city. It works so hard to maintain the atmosphere of a small town. And I love that piece of its caring heart, its neighborliness. And you mentioned about the city committees, and the city invites all of the citizens. So any of you out there listening to this, the city wants us to be involved. I'm amazed at how the city finds employees who go beyond their job and do it like a calling and put their whole selves, their whole hearts into their work. I'm talking about the planning, the public works, the rec department, the especially citizen services, who I've had the good fortune to be involved with in my involvement with the Educational Enrichment Committee. How does the city do that? So I just wanted to say thank you to the city.
Thank you, Mike. Can I just say, yeah, give Mike a round of applause. And speaking of invitations, I would like to invite Mike to make that testimony at every one of our meetings, please. I'll note that Mike is a founding member of our Educational Enrichment Committee, and I take it that that was that sort of a goodbye speak, or was that just? I mean, what? Come back up here for a second, Mike. I want clarification on this.
The clarification is that there was an opportunity for me to say something, and I
Okay.
took it.
Awesome. All right, this is not a goodbye then. Excellent. I'm glad it's not. Okay. Thank you very much. Do we have any other speakers this evening?
Especially speakers like that, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, especially speakers like that. Okay, then not hearing any, we will move on to our public hearing. And our Assistant City Attorney, Frank Johnson, is going to lead us in this item.
So here, make sure. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Frank Johnson, as announced, Assistant City Attorney, and I'm here to introduce this public hearing on the ordinance to amend Section 19-4 of the City Code. That's entitled Riding or Driving Bicycles, Vehicles, etc. on Streets. What's being proposed is a more simplified direction as to allowances and potential limits, or the authority to impose potential limits for sidewalk use than has been in past drafts you've seen. By way of a quick background, Section 19-4 of the City Code now entirely prohibits riding a bicycle on a sidewalk with wheels that are 20 inches or larger, or a motorcycle or any other vehicle adapted to transport persons or things except conventional children's toys. The intent of the change is actually quite simple: to allow bicycle and non-motorized vehicles on the sidewalk, certain specified ones, with pedestrian protections, while allowing the city manager the ability to limit vehicles and devices on certain sidewalks. There is an additional factor that kind of came up in the last week. In changing the city code to allow bicycles and non-motorized vehicles on sidewalks, they will receive the same legal protections as pedestrians, particularly in crosswalks, against motor vehicles. And that's pursuant to House Bill 997, which Governor Hogan signed on May 25th. So that's an additional purpose behind this. The amendments, as noted, were raised earlier this year. They started with looking at definitions, because that's really what 19-4 does, defines a bicycle as based on the size tires, and then there was a thrust of, well, we need to define, as does state law and as does county law, electric bicycles, scooters, etc. And after review and in allowing more vehicles, there became part of the discussion of looking at an ordinance is, that's why we have a public hearing, to get feedback. We saw a need for some additional limitations, so then came back with some additional limitations, and then saw that having these specific definitions, and we had 5 or 6 to start with, could end up working against us, as the intent was really more broad. Broaden it, perhaps using language that's more general to define, as I said before, non-motorized vehicles, and then also allow the ability to put limitations in place based on need, based on safety. So we presented a second option. That is what the Transportation Committee has recommended as well. We did take advantage of their input, and that's what was introduced on May 15th, and that's what's being presented tonight. This hearing has been advertised since May 16th on the city's website. Right now, beyond the city submissions, there are no exhibits. But that said, any individual exhibits that are submitted may certainly be reviewed during regular business hours at City Hall. Any objections to the receipt of any particular exhibit should be noted prior to the closing of the record. Otherwise, all exhibits will be deemed received in evidence. And I have a brief PowerPoint, and then we do have a recommendation as to the record remaining opening and potential final discussion of the policy. So, I don't know if there are any preliminary questions.
No, go right ahead with the PowerPoint.
We'll go right, and you somewhat familiar, I'm sure, with the background.
Mhm.
But let's see if, whoop. There we go. Current law, as I said, bicycles are prohibited. Defines bicycles, refers to any motorcycle, motor propelled, and as I had said before. So there are really three basic purposes of the proposed changes: prohibit motorcycles, motor-propelled vehicles, allow bikes, similar vehicles with pedestrian protections, allow specific prohibitions where needed, or based on need or based on safety. A need could be defined as the type of sidewalk that's there, perhaps construction, and perhaps surrounding area usage. So first, prohibition. The proposal is to continue the prohibition against motorcycles or motor-propelled vehicles, and then it has an exception: toys, segways, and segways would have been included in the EPA-MDs, the electronic personal mobility devices that were before included. When we took that out, when you do one thing, it leads to something else. So there was a desire to, at least for the purposes of the initial proposal, include segways in the exception, and then mobility aids. The current section 19-4 then becomes subsection A. Then second, the limited allowance, that's the exemption I just mentioned, children, handicap, children's toys, and segways. And then allow bicycles, electric bicycles, and vehicles not prohibited by subsection A. But for the pedestrian protection, require an audible signal and yielding the right-of-way for pedestrians, and that's subsection B. The pedestrian protections are based on the current county code. The Montgomery County section now has these provisions: using care, audible signal, yielding the right-of-way. The recommendation from the Transportation Committee was actually to not include use care. First of all, it's a very general language. It doesn't say use due care, use any particular kind of care, and somewhat therefore duplicative of yielding the right-of-way. And third, are the limitations. Allowing more usage, such as bicycles, raises the need to have some ability to limit vehicles at the right time and in the right place, as they would say. So this generally allows a prohibition of any or all, so it can be specific or more limited, with proper signage based on safety or based on need. And the restriction is allowed, as noted, for any or all. That may be sidewalk width and usage, a finding that such operation is a danger to the public. Again, you need signage by the city manager or designee, and could certainly be on request from any source. We'll remember the original proposal was more complicated. It started, as I said before, with the definitions, and when you get into definitions allowances, then you have to get into definitions limiting it, and it became clear in discussion that the specificity wasn't necessarily the intent. The streamlined current proposal uses broader language that captures that, and a couple of sources we had the chance to look at, not only some local ordinances in Maryland, but even looking nationwide at what some cities do and municipalities and counties do in other states. And it certainly is the trend to be a bit less specific. And I would say Councilmember Wu also sent some suggestions and ideas in, and we made full use of those as well. So, as noted, the simplified approach really does seem to be the trend. It seems that captures what you were looking for with actually a bit more clarity, and that's what has been recommended. We did take advantage, as I noted before, of the Transportation Committee, and that's what they recommended. No real change in enforcement. Municipal infractions process, and the current fine would be $100. Certainly if somebody persisted in remaining on a sidewalk and simply wouldn't move, that could also certainly be subject to the police, and that could raise some additional criminal problems of not following the order of a police officer. So it certainly could be enforced in that manner as well. And unless there's any questions, that's the summary, and that's what has been proposed.
Thank you, Frank. This has been before us. I think there's broad consensus among us about the goals here, and the reason why it's back here is more about very specific language concerns, and so I'm gonna point to Rob here first. I'm gonna let you go first in terms of commenting or questioning, and to see where you stand on the language here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really don't have any questions because in taking a look at the revised language, it really is crisp, it really is clear, and it follows the trend that we've been taking, I think, with the entire code, which is trying to figure out ways to streamline it in various areas. So I commend your work on this. It certainly meets the intent that I was looking for when I think myself and Neil were originally pursuing this last year. So I look forward to hearing from the public and then discussing some policy.
Neil?
Look, the new language is much clearer and much more to the point and less full of possible exceptions and alternative answers. So I think it's exactly what we need at this point so that we can continue the discussion with the public. So thank you.
Yvette, any?
And just thank you and staff for taking care of us.
All right, well, so this is the time when the mayor and council would like to hear from anyone in the public who'd like to speak on this topic. Again, we ask you to keep your comments to 1 to 3 minutes. Do we have any speakers this evening on this topic? Going once, going twice? Okay. So, we have recommendations. We have a recommendation as to the record. What is the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we hold the record open for 10 days until 5 p.m. on Thursday, June 29, 2017, with anticipated policy discussion on Monday, July 17, 2017.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, carries 3-0. Thank you very much, Frank.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to move to from the mayor and city council. We're going to start with Councilmember Wu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just brief today. Wanted to send my appreciation out to the various communities that came out to Gaithersburg High School last week for the council and the community session. It was well attended. It was good discussions, good information put out, and actually good information that was received from various community members. Also attended an Environmental Affairs Committee meeting last Tuesday, where I'm the council liaison. We had a good discussion that night as well. Talked about waste reduction strategies, a composting program, a pilot program that will be coming to the city soon. So everyone look out for that. It's exciting. We also talked about the Paris Accord and the steps that the council are taking, and I think the EAC was very appreciative of the council stepping forward on the various statements that we've signed on to. Be forewarned, we are discussing the implications of others, such as the Mayor's Climate Action Agenda, and steps the EAC may be able to take in urging the council to either sign on to that or to become more involved with setting goals for the city going forward to meet our climate change obligations. And so, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Neil.
First of all, I have an official announcement. A closed meeting was held at City Hall by the mayor and city council on Monday, June 12, 2017 at approximately 8:50 p.m. pursuant to a motion adopted unanimously. The meeting was proposed to be closed pursuant to the general provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, Section 3-305B1I. The appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction. The topic discussed was a personnel matter to discuss the city attorney's annual performance evaluation. Present at the meetings were Mayor Ashman, council members Harris, Monroe, Spiegel, Sesma, and Wu. City staff present were City Manager Tomasello and City Attorney Board, who left at 9:05 p.m. Upon conclusion and discussion, the closed meeting was adjourned at approximately 9:13 p.m. So aside from that, first of all, I'd like to wish all the fathers out there a happy Father's Day. Hope you had a good day. I'm wearing my lovely Father's Day tie from my daughter Jess, the genuine Jerry Garcia, although I'm pretty sure he's not making them anymore. Also, like to say that I really enjoyed Kentland's Under the Lights. I think most of us up here at the dais were there, and a huge crowd of people as the evening wore on. It seemed to just get bigger and bigger. Great annual event that's been run now for 3 years in the center of Kentland's. And third of all, attended last week the 20th anniversary celebration and ribbon cutting for the Institute for In Vitro Sciences, which is a research group that has recently expanded in some part due to a grant from the city of Gaithersburg. And it's interesting. It's not exactly what I expected. I wasn't familiar with the organization, but they're really all dedicated toward being able to do scientific research without harming animals. So the name was a little bit misleading, I thought, but I thought it was a really good cause, and in keeping with the fact that we've been discussing other humane actions with the National Humane Society. So I thought it was a great event. It was great to get to know those people, and glad to see they're growing here in Gaithersburg. That's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Yvette?
Thank you, Mayor. So, just one other thing to add. Couple weeks ago, several of us went to the EPIC Awards, which EPIC stands for Excellence in Programming and Innovative Content, and our own mayor received an award for excellence and dedication in the arts and humanities for the Gaithersburg Book Festival. So it was
We have a book festival?
Huge, huge gala, and it was wonderful down at the Fillmore in Silver Spring. And he was the first person. So this is their first award. He was the first person to receive the award ever. So that was special, and we had a great time. So we were.
I move
glad
that we
to
give
be
the
there.
mayor a round of applause, and he can't
Yes.
veto it. So.
Yes. That is all I have.
Thank you, Yvette. I'll note that in my acceptance speech, I said it was a great act of faith on their part to give me the first one ever. So because they're assuming I'm not going to just get at this big head and be insufferable and lord it over everybody for a long time. But I don't know if I can guarantee that. We'll see.
Henceforth to be known as the Judd Ashman Award.
Yeah. Proposed here. Do we have a second? Anyway, thank you. Thanks, Yvette, for that. And thank you all for the round of applause. I want to join my colleagues in congratulating staff on the Council in the Communities, which turned out to be a terrific event. Very helpful. These events that we're doing now quarterly seem to be gaining some steam, and I'm happy to see that. And I want to also echo Neil's congratulations to the Kentlands Community Foundation for Kentlands Under the Lights this weekend. And I want to note that we actually do not have a work session next week or a regular session on July 3rd. So the next work session, the next time we gather here will be on Monday, July 10th for a work session, 7:30 p.m. On July 1st, it's notable that we have a new event, which is sort of a combination of the 4th of July fireworks and our Celebrate Gaithersburg. It's called Summerfest. It's going to be on the grounds of Boer Park and the Activity Center. I was just talking with staff this week, and the activities are really awesome. There's going to be like zip lining, and I don't know what the name is of the thing where it simulates like parachuting, where you're sort of suspended over something and can do flips and all that. I don't know what it's called, but they just opened this facility off Gaither Road, and they're having High Fly. Okay, they're having that there. So I'm excited about that, and of course we're going to have our amazing fireworks display and and we're going to have a terrific concert, and we're going to have some kind of glow dance thing afterwards. So it's going to be really cool. Saturday, July 1st. So instead of doing the July 4th fireworks, we're going to do our celebration on July 1st, and it's going to be awesome, and hopefully everyone can be there. It's free and fun for everyone. So hope to see you there. I'm going to move on to From the City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for covering the July 1st. I was going to cover that as well.
Please, cover it again.
Well, you said everything I needed to say. Staff is working really hard, and we appreciate that, and I think it's going to be really spectacular.
You know, I happened to be I was at the gym on Saturday at the Activity Center, and happened to run into our event staff who were there on Saturday all day working on this event. So you were right, they were working very hard.
Yep, it's the season. You probably saw in today's email that a contractor is being selected for construction of the Watkins Mill interchange, which is a huge step forward for us, and the city staff will be working, if they need anything about, usually they establish an engineering office and staging areas and things like that, and we're going to do, obviously, anything we can do to help them.
Let's string
Get
up a
set up.
ribbon and cut that thing.
We will do that as soon as we can. And again, thanks to everyone that attended Council of Communities. Neighborhood Services has already prepared a draft action items list, and it's making circulation now, so that the new process seems to be working really well.
Fantastic.
So Tony, when you have the groundbreaking on that, just let my community know, because we're already planning the party for it and everyone's invited.
Okay. I will let the state know.
Yeah, if the state's doing a groundbreaking on this.
Okay.
Certainly, we'd all want to be there.
We could always just go out there with shovels and hats.
We could. We can just
We could.
bring our own cameras and do our thing. Is that all you got, Tony?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to move on to economic development. Mr. Tom Lonergan.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I just got one message for you tonight. Hot off the presses, we just received a copy of the May 2017 Hotel Industry Report, something we get every few months from the Visitors Bureau. And I just wanted to highlight some of the report's most noteworthy stats here in the city. This report does analyze hotel data from around the region, as well as within specific submarkets, including the city of Gaithersburg itself. Here in the city, the report tracks 14 properties with about 2,300 rooms. In May, occupancy citywide was about 81.6%, up almost a point from a year ago. This was the second highest occupancy rate of the D.C. region submarkets, outdone only by Arlington and Bethesda. The county overall averaged about 79.5%, and the D.C. region 80%. Average daily room rates rose to over $119 per night, up from $116 a year ago. This is still among the most affordable submarkets in the region. Rockville's is about $124 a night, and Bethesda's nearly $200 a night. Revenue per available room, or what they call RevPAR, which is a key performance metric in the industry, is up significantly in Gaithersburg as well, jumping to about $97 per room, up from $94. A good month for sure, but challenges do remain. Overall, year-to-date occupancy for city hotels is around 68%, up a little bit from last year, but still below 70%, which is found in most of the submarkets around the region. And we do have a lot of inventory here in Gaithersburg. Again, 14 properties with about 2,300 rooms. By comparison, Bethesda has but 8 with 1,900 rooms, Silver Spring 11 with 1,500 rooms. Conversations with our local hotel managers do remind us about how competitive the local industry is and just how critical our employers and their affiliated overnight stays are to their survival. Thank you to the Visitors Bureau for always reporting with us, and we like working with them. They're a good group. I did want to mention also that Ian, the newest appointee to the Old Town Advisory Committee, did arrive after you'd already the appointment, so I did want to acknowledge his arrival, and he's already joined us for one OTAC meeting. We've had a good conversation, so we look forward to working with him.
Excellent.
Thank you. That's all I
Thank you,
have.
Ian. Thank you, Tom. Okay. We're going to move on to ordinances, resolutions, and regulations, and invite Mark Scafidi to the podium. We're going to talk about mowing and landscaping.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The resolution before you tonight is to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract to provide mowing and related landscape services. On March 21st, 2017, a solicitation for mowing-related services was advertised on the city's website and in eMaryland Marketplace. 5 companies responded to the solicitation. Sealed bids were opened and tabulated on April 21st, 2017. The following bids were received. National Services Contractors at $121,885.75. Landscaper Landscaping at $131,981.58. Hal Brothers Lawn and Landscaping at $133,981.58. Brightview Landscaping at $137,676.31, and J.B. Klein Landscaping at $169,994.00. Staff recommends award to the lowest, most responsive bidder, and that would be National Services Contractors. This item was approved as part of the FY18 operating budget, and these services will be provided in FY18. Do you have any questions?
Have we worked with them before?
We have not. So this is the first time we've checked references. They've done some work for the federal government on, on some federal parks and some state parks, but this will be the first time for them working in Gaithersburg.
Okay.
So we hope it's a smooth transition.
Yes, yes. Any questions, comments? Someone like to move the resolution?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we approve a contract awarded to National Services Contractors, Inc. in the amount of $121,885.75. Any contingency? No? For landscaping services.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Carries 3-0. Thank you, Mark. And you are back up for the next one.
Yep, I'm just going to hold tight right here.
Okay.
So the second resolution before you tonight is to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract for street cleaning services. On November 15th, 2016, a solicitation for street cleaning services was advertised on the city's website and in eMaryland Marketplace. 3 companies responded to the solicitation, and sealed bids were opened and tabulated on December 20th, 2017. The following bids were received. Quiet Sweep at $146,616. Riley Sweeping at $217,617.84. And WDC Inc. at $316,305. Staff recommends awarding to the lowest, most responsive bidder. These services were approved as a part of the FY18 budget and the stormwater management budget, and also these services will be provided in FY18. Do you have any questions?
Quite a big spread.
Quite a big spread.
Yeah. Have we worked with them?
So for the last 2 months, we did a purchase order. So they've been working for the city for the past 2 months and providing services. So they're totally completed 1 month. They've just started the second month, and so far the performance has been very good. So we definitely feel like they will be good to continue on. We have a 1-year contract with 2 renewable years.
Fantastic. Any other questions or comments? Not. Someone want to move the resolution?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move approval of contract awarded to Quiet Sweep LTD in the amount of $146,616 for street cleaning services.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, sorry.
Any opposed? Carries 3-0. Thank you very much. Seems like that's a really great price for this service.
Yeah, it sure does. Thank you very much.
Next, Meredith Strider.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The resolution before you tonight seeks approval for the expenditure of funds for inspection, reporting, and maintenance services for city underground stormwater infrastructure. The existing contract was awarded to the lowest bidder, Stormwater Maintenance LLC, in January of 2016 and included a provision for 4 consecutive automatic annual renewals. And the contract was renewed for a second term at the beginning of this year based on satisfactory performance during the initial contract year. In year 2, we anticipate expending funds so that all city underground BMPs will be inspected, as well as over 1,000 inlets planned for inspection and maintenance on an as-needed basis. And we will also be performing repairs to the Public Works sand filter facility in FY18. Staff is seeking approval to expend funds from the approved FY18 budget in an amount not to exceed $338,000 to be expended from both the Stormwater Management Fund budget and the operating budget. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Questions, comments?
So are we extending an option on the current contract? Is that?
Yes, so the contract is already in place and it actually automatically renewed because we didn't tell them that we wanted to stop. So that's the way that the contract
But
is
it was
worded.
the intent at the beginning when we bid this out.
For it to be a full 5-year contract, but it gave us the option to stop it if for any reason we were uncomfortable with the work. But they've performed very well and we're very happy with the service we're receiving.
So do we need to approve it if the contract's already been?
There's some interesting
Probably.
wording in the way the contract was written, so.
By way of safety, because I was wondering the same thing. I thought, well, there's not a contract, and as long as it's part of the budget, but if there's any question, there's certainly no harm in approving the expenditure.
So when-
It may
when-
be somewhat duplicative as part of the budget, but.
When does the contract auto renew?
At the beginning of January, I think January 11th, 2016 was when it was executed, so it automatically renewed
So
January.
we probably should take this up next year before we get to that date, just in case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a standard clause in our contracts, an auto renewal, or do we usually have an option where we have to exercise it to renew it?
We can take either route, but over the last couple of years, we have, and that's part of a trend too that you see with contracting, to go ahead and set up a situation of auto renew, because if you don't, and let's say, whether it be Public Works or your stormwater management or whoever, working on many different projects at the same time, if nothing pops up, just, oh, we needed to contact them, we needed to say something, then you're in the position of saying, now we need to do a new contract. We need to go out and do a new bid. We may have a period where we actually don't have any services being provided, and if it's for lawn mowing in the middle of June or July. So the auto renewal makes that work a lot better, and that's what was utilized here.
Right.
On the other hand, many of the contractors will come back and say, we'd like to have a 3 to 5 year contract, which is understandable. Like, you know what, we'll do that, but we're going to set this up as a renewal, which gives us then the option if there's a problem. And in some ways, some may say that prevents a problem as well, because they know we could back out of it just by saying we've opted not to renew.
Generally, we rely more on the option to cancel or to stop using the service than we do. Even the term automatic is a little bit more than we would usually use.
It's just it's an odd structure. On the federal side, my daytime job, it's mostly you exercise an option to continue performance. That might be because of the fiscal, crossing fiscal year type things. I don't know if that's a municipal issue as well.
There are, as Tony mentioned, in our termination clause, we do include a provision if something's not included in the budget, it gives us an additional reason to terminate. But that's also part of the reason for the annual renewal as well, because that does honor the annual budget.
No, I'm fine with it. It's just the other way is what I'm used to. I would like some mechanism to ensure that we are reviewing the contracts prior to the auto renewal coming in, because I hear you were happy with these guys.
Right.
But what happens in the situation where we are not happy with a contractor and it's been triggered already?
Exactly. Well,
So-
yeah, if it's been triggered already, hopefully, we generally take a look at these before the, renewal process is coming forward, and we have 90 days to be able to say, no, we're not going to move forward with this one. But I will speak with Frank and make sure that we
Okay.
put some.
We've been beefing up our procurement office. Maybe they keep a list of all the trigger dates so that they're at least tracking, and then they can reach out to whomever's managing the contract to say, hey, this is coming up. Do you like what they're doing? Should we allow this to just...
Do we have a
Throwing it out there.
contract management system? I mean, there's all sorts of software that manages this sort of thing.
Right, and we can terminate this contract, or any contract, and we don't have to wait for the anniversary date. If we had the reason to terminate, we would terminate.
I mean, legally,
That's for
one
convenience.
council can't bind
Correct.
another council.
Absolutely.
So if a year from now we have a different council and they want to cancel this contract, even if the company is auto renewed, they'll still be able to get out of it.
And
But it's just the way this comes up it seems a little clunky. That's
because the flip side of it is engineering firms are hard to come by these days,
Yeah.
especially ones that perform like the way they're supposed to. So it was
And
really
you
in
can
our
get-
best interest to at least get a structure in place for multiple
and
years.
I'm sure you can get discounts with the multi-year system as well.
And it's a little bit odd because the contract was in place at the beginning of January, but we're trying to, requisition funding for, the fiscal year. So you've got calendar year versus fiscal year, but I think that's something that we can reconcile moving forward.
Okay.
Usually we do with the dates, we do try to move it to the July 30th, July 1, so that it does work consistent. We may have done that here too, so we may want to check the specific dates. But all of them do, all of our, I'm not aware of any contract that doesn't have the ability to terminate for convenience, which is just for no reason at all.
Legally, it would have to be there, because one council can't bind, if it's.
That's the budget language, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But just for convenience, we've had that come up a couple of times this year. And rather than get into a major dispute one way or another, we just say, you know what, we're finished with this.
But
And
wouldn't
have
we
the right
incur
to do
costs
that.
if we exercise? I would assume there's a cost provision in the termination for convenience.
Generally to pay them for any services they've performed up to that point. Now, of course, that payment is based on any undisputed proper invoice. So if there is a dispute under the invoice, the mere fact they bill us doesn't mean they'll get paid for that. But if we agree the services were adequately performed, then they would be paid through that time.
Well, I think you guys are guided here in terms of ongoing contracts, but as far as what's before us, someone want to make move the resolution?
I just wanted to add one thing. I know this is rare. Staff is legal services, the procurement office, and mayor and council services. Staff is currently working on a mechanism for renewals and contracts that are expiring. So it's in the works.
Great.
Good to know.
Okay.
Thanks, Doris.
Move the resolution.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carries 3-0. Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Next, we have from the city attorney. Anything from any other staff? Dennis, you got nothing? All right. Well, in that case, as I mentioned, the next 2 weeks. Oh, Meredith.
There goes my over-under.
Right, to other staff. I just wanted to, in the interest of keeping council informed of the task orders that we award under our master contract for stream restoration and stormwater design, we have awarded a contract for the design of a stream restoration project along Great Seneca Creek north of Rabbit Road. And the design monies for that total $120,179.77, which is just $179.77 over our budgeted amount of $120,000. But we do have the funds in the account and decided to move forward with the award because the stream is in need of remediation.
Okay.
So that's the section of the stream between Rabbit Road and Clopper Road, is that?
That is.
That's where it is.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As I mentioned, next week we're all going to be at the Maryland Municipal League Convention, and then we have no regular meeting on July 3rd. So the next time we'll be meeting in here will be on July 10th, 7:30 p.m. for a work session. So until then, we hope to see you all at Summerfest. Let's do great things, Gaithersburg. We are adjourned.